This is the Dank Swamp Rebellion, and you're listening to part 2 of the return of RattlesnakeDre.
But there is two different Indian tribes that have lived on the bayou.
Yes, I am
And
familiar.
my grandpa used to trade with he said some of them grew some big ass watermelons, and he would go trade furs and stuff with the Native Americans. And if you go down to Golden Meadow, every once in a while there's a guy walking on the side of the road, and he is true blood, 100%. There's literally a feather hanging out of his hair sometimes. Native American. So they're still there, but in a couple more years,
that's slowly fading out.
It'll be washed out.
Good thing for y'all, I could read French pretty good. I figured out what this says right here. As you can see, they got a $30 written right there in the middle of the letter. This chick Joanna, she's writing a letter to this dude Pot Sticker. All right, and Pot Sticker owes her money on a game, a poker game that he bluffed her on, and she wants that $30. And y'all don't think $30 is a lot, but back 300, 400, 500 years ago when this was written, that was like millions of dollars, man.
Or 4 horses.
So see, you ain't gotta go through all that, bro. I just did that for you. It's done.
Thank you, Grovon.
I appreciate that, Grovon. You did good, bro.
But this is a really cool piece of paper. I do have one. They're all kind of related. They all have the same last name attached to the 15 letters I have. One of them is in English, and it talks about a guy had sent his son it was an apprenticeship, to be a tinsmith. And a long time ago in New Orleans, these big mansions would have tin panels that they would hand hammer all the designs to put on the roofs or the walls of the house. And he was putting his son in to be an apprenticeship, saying that I'm going to let him go live with this guy for 2 years. I'm going to give him this amount of money. And it's just crazy to think, like, they don't have that no more.
That's a lost art form.
Yeah, and everything is kind of dying, by the way, if you haven't realized.
Kind of sucks. Kind of sucks. But
technology is taking over.
But look, man, this is
what we're fighting, though.
This is what the rebellion's for. It's literally exactly for that. It doesn't have to die. This is the preservation.
Right.
There is a digital catalog of all these records now, and it used to be from your maman's storytelling, or it used to be on a piece of paper that got lost, that just got found
200 years ago.
It doesn't have to end if you don't want it to, and that's the goal of DSR, man. It's so amazing that we have that in a shadow box framed literally in front of us because of you, brother.
Right. No problem. Y'all very much deserved it.
And very, very many eyes will see it.
Awesome.
They will see it.
And I just remembered one other thing. If I can go find it at my house, I'll definitely give it to you. We were talking about this, and I know both of you guys are super into music, super talented. Super is not even a good word to use, but I went to another place in New Orleans, and I was going through old books, and I found these small little. They were almost the size of envelopes, but they were little books, and there was handwritten music.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
With like a quill pen. All the little notes were written. You could see where they scratched them out and put a new note.
Yeah.
And it's all from 150 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a brass band in New Orleans.
It was old tablatures for the brass bands,
that
and
could
it was
have
sitting on
been
top of the easel.
the original Tena now.
Maybe so. It has all the instruments on the front, like it was a clarinet and this one,
You best believe I would
That's awesome.
transcribe that shit.
Yeah. That'd be really cool, because then we could put that into the MacBook and then write it out.
And in
figure it
fact,
out, yeah.
I'll bring them all to you, because what's really crappy about the story, or what's really sad, is they had a stack of about 100. And I went and grabbed them, and the lady wanted $2 a piece, and all I had was like a $10 bill. So I grabbed the rest of them, and I walked to the back of the store, and I reached up, and I wanted to put it on the very top shelf so no one would find it till I went back. And when I let it go, there was a hole in the wall, and it fell down into the wall.
Through the hole in the wall.
So I have 10 of them, and in some random building in New Orleans,
Has the rest.
there's about another 20 in the wall.
Well, that was meant for whoever finds that.
Me and my skill saw.
That's the attitude we need.
The after hour special.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's fucking badass, though. Yes.
What
man.
I'm going to do now, can I move this over somewhere? Because I'm going to open up my notes.
Yep.
Because I'm not as smart as Kyle. I can't just take all this off the top of
Put
my
that
head.
on that chair. There you go.
Look, it just opened.
Oh Lord, be careful.
It's been in a cane field for 150 years. Dropping it on the ground won't hurt it. That's really cool. I usually keep some right by my. He's holding the bullet right now. I usually keep one right by my desk. That way, when I'm doing research and stuff, you can kind of just play with it in your hand.
Yeah, just inspires the shit out you.
To get into some of the new stuff I'm doing, I have a couple new stories I wanted to tell you about. A couple weeks ago, my father-in-law called me and he's like, "Hey, there's an estate sale in Thibodaux. It's a 100-plus-year-old house. There's got to be some really cool shit there." So we jumped in the truck. My father-in-law is a very crazy character. I love him to death. He's like a Spartan with a drinking problem. He's my favorite person in the entire world.
That's the best kind.
That's pretty rough, yeah.
No, the first time I met him, he was throwing patio furniture into the Intercoastal Canal. But he loves me to death. I love him to death. When our relationship first started, I was dating his daughter. At that time, I was 30 years old and she was 18. And when he found out that a 30-year-old man was trying to date his 18-year-old daughter, he wanted to kill me.
He was not digging the rattlesnake.
No, absolutely
Dre.
not. So he showed up where at my workplace because she was a cashier. I was a floor manager. And he walked in and he was just like, I want to see this guy. I want this guy to look into my face.
She was a cashier, and I was a floor manager, and I was making change.
She wanted the rattlesnake, though.
So we all had radios on at this store where we could talk to each other like the FBI. Like we could all,
Yeah, that's how we got it, too.
Well, she talked to me on my mic and said, "Hey, my dad's here, and he wants to talk to you." And I was like, he's like, "No, you got to come to the front because he wants
to talk to you to death."
Right. So immediately I was like, you know what? If you really like this girl, just go talk to him, explain everything. So I said, all right, you know what? I'm going to do it. I took 2 steps forward, turned around, ran out the back of the building. I changed my mind. I was just like, nope, I'm not dying today. But long story short, he loves me. I love him. I married his daughter, so that's too late. So
you sealed the deal, man.
Right. But he loves history, so we have a huge connection on that. He's brought me to a couple places that I had no idea about. Like when I was really into the Civil War history, he knew about some Native American mounds that are right there in LaRose that I don't think a lot of people know about.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Is that by the D&D?
It's right. It's like in between LaRose and New Orleans. Like, you know how you pass over the overpass?
Oh, yeah. So out in that marsh going that way?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on whatever lake that is. But he brought me out there and he's like, I
Lake
swear.
Salvador.
That's it. Lake Salvador. So he told me, he's like, dude, you could find pottery shards, you could find arrowheads. And I'm like, there's no way. Somebody would have brought this up in conversation. So one day we jumped in a boat. And like I said, my father-in-law's a little crazy. It was really windy. We were in a 16-foot shallow. And I was just like, oh, my God, like it's already choppy. We're not even out of the canal yet.
White capping in the Intercoastal.
Dude, he did not give a fuck. He was straight into it. Boom!
Blasting that shit.
Boom! I was holding on for dear life. I'm like, God.
Yeah, white knuckling.
He didn't care. He had it floored. But
Call it white knuckling the rosary.
Right? But we ended up going out there and we found at least 10 shards of pottery. He took a bunch and he gave them to a guy that I think he had a son or something that was at LSU that passed it over to the LSU department. They tested it, totally legit. That's where I got some of the dates of 300 to 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
All made right there. First Coonassus.
Damn, man. That's crazy. That's so cool.
But he's the one, getting back to the original story, he's the one that had told me about this estate sale. I show up at the estate sale. The guy that's in charge of the estate sale looks right at me and goes, "Oh, you're the treasure hunter guy on Facebook." And I'm like, "Yes, that's me." They call me RattlesnakeDre.
Go and get me a cookie.
Yeah. Well, it's better than being known for the stuff that I used to do a long time ago.
Fair
we
enough.
can all say that, bro.
Fair enough.
So I walk into the estate sale and I'm looking through some stuff. I find some really cool records. I grab them, give them to my wife. She goes, we check out. Well, we're walking out, and the guy comes running up to me. He's like, hey. We found a bunch of coins in the backyard, but I scooped them all up because I caught some people fighting over them when we opened the door. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, when we opened it, the back doors to the plantation were at ground level. So everything was about 2 foot thick of trash and garbage from 100 years ago, just throwing stuff in the basement. So when they opened the doors, people started going through it, and all of a sudden he heard a commotion. People were fighting over these old coins. So I say, well, where are the coins? He's like, I got them over here on a table. So he moved an object. He had them sitting underneath the table. He moved the object and showed them to me. Immediately I see one. It's from the 1800s. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So he's like, I tell you what, he's like, I'll message you on Facebook later. So I bought my stuff. Later on that night, he messages me. He's like, hey, I need you to come back to the plantation because the old man that owns the plantation, it was his grandfather's property, said that he remembers being little and walking in the backyard and seeing his grandpa with a guy digging a huge hole. And they were lowering a safe into the hole. And he says he remembers them putting like paperwork in bags and stuff and he's like, I don't remember coins or anything like that. But I told him, I was like, why would they bury it? They're not going to bury paperwork.
But what if there were banknotes?
What if there were banknotes? What if there were coins in there? What if there was...
What the fuck?
What if they killed Kennedy?
So there's a safe in Thibodaux. I don't want to tell you the guy's name or the location or anything.
Oh, I want to know the location before you leave this place.
Off air, I'll tell you exactly where it's at. But
if you don't think, dude, I'm super lazy, so there's no way I'd make it.
But he remembers, and he was a child. I mean, I seen the old guy sitting on the porch, and he's at least 70 years old. So
shit, man.
If he remembers as a little boy, his grandpa lowering the safe.
Oh, imagine what's in there.
That's amazing.
It's the Louisiana Purchase original documents in Thibodaux. Is that? I'm sure that's somewhere already, right? It's not.
I would hope so.
It's not a carbon copy. Carbon copies.
It's probably a digital file now.
Right.
Oh, here, it's on this USB drive.
Speaking of the Louisiana Purchase, Louisiana was purchased from Spain. Did you ever do the calculations? It was like $14 million, but Louisiana stretched all the way across the country. So I think they bought each acre for 14 cents.
Yeah.
It's astronomical.
Yeah, something dumb like that.
It's insane.
So I actually have some other stuff I could show you in here. I brought other presents. These you can't have. I will chase you down for them, but I'm going to show them to you. But this is actually a pirate. This is like a pirate coin. This is treasure. This is from 1807, and that's a Spanish. That's a Spanish $1 real.
Oh, fuck.
Watch, let me see it real quick. I'll do something really cool.
He's going to let me hold it out of the case, guys.
You're gonna touch it with your bare hands?
You got a knife.
Yeah. I don't know why we're whispering.
No, I wanted to open the case, but...
That's cool, though.
Anyway.
Yeah.
There you go. Spanish real. That's a...
You know what's amazing about this? Is I've seen one of these before. And you know where I saw it? I was in Nassau, Bahamas at the Pirate Museum, and it was in a case, and I couldn't hold it in my fucking hand like I'm holding this one.
That's so cool.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Where'd you find this one?
That I didn't find.
Exact pinpoint. I want to know.
That one I actually bought, but I have found one that's even older than that. And I found that one really close to here.
I want to take a picture of that, and then that's going to be part of your card for your episode.
Cool. That'll work for me.
Take a shot of...
That is really cool.
I'll leave it here with you guys. You could open it up.
If you
later.
ever get the way you're into, just like me, the pirate thing, if you ever get a chance to go to Nassau, Bahamas and go to the Pirate Museum there, amazing. And for me, it was the women. Because I was like, man.
Women love pirates.
Well, the women pirates, though.
Oh,
they were badasses, man. They put the men to shame. They were brutal.
Okay, I thought you were joking around about sexy ladies, but no, they really were.
No, they really were badasses.
Yeah.
And they have a whole section just dedicated to female pirates, which is really awesome.
Yeah, this is so cool.
I love that, dude.
So the one that I actually dug up is about the size of a dime. This one's about the size of a silver dollar. The one that I dug up is really thin and it's really, really worn out. And I'm not sure if I told that story the last time too, but I'll tell it again. It's a really good story. So the piece of property I found, it's a half real. It's about the size of a dime. We actually found 3 different Spanish coins on that same property, all within a 20-foot square area. So that property was, you know, Jim Bowie, the guy that with the
Absolutely.
Bowie knife, fought in Alamo, got killed there. His brother and mother lived on that property. Jim Bowie was a business partner with Jean Lafitte. Jean Lafitte would capture boats with slaves. He was wanted in New Orleans, had a bounty on his head, couldn't go to New Orleans. Would give the slaves to Jim Bowie. Jim Bowie would bring them into New Orleans. Where would they meet? Probably on Jim Bowie's mom's property because it's right along by Lafourche. That's where we found the 3 Spanish coins. All 3 Spanish coins dotted the Mexico down to South America coastline. So this was not the plantation owner. This was not a regular Spaniard. These were people that were traveling in boats all along the coast. Can we say they were pirates? I would bet.
Why not?
You'd put that money on it?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think anybody else is traveling that much, being on that piece of property, knowing the history.
Its origins of being there in the first place.
Right.
It just all signs.
Can you
Well, that's-
imagine that? Like the old, you got the moss hanging in the tree, and here comes Jean Lafitte, and he's like, "Oh, this way la janvier," and then Jim Bowie's like, "Get over here and crack open the beer, you son of a bitch, me."
And speaking of Bowie, that guy, I saw you gave him a crazy accent, like he'd be some, but he was exactly what you're saying. He was crazy. There's a story that Jim Bowie would travel. I don't know if you know. There's a property by Raceland called Bowie Town or Bowie Road. It's right behind that pink school.
Yep.
Jim Bowie owned that area. He
Yeah,
owned all that
and
property.
Raceland, yeah.
And he would travel from, I believe, Grand Isle down all the way up, to New Orleans. And there's a story that a guy was talking garbage on him because they said he was a bad land deal or he was a thief or something. Well, he tracked down the guy and cut his belly open with his knife because his knife was razor sharp. Cut his belly open and pulled out his guts so the guy could see it and to let him know, if you talk crap on me, this is what happens. So that's the type of guy he was.
That's worse than a blood eagle.
You don't do it
Right.
again. That's what it is. Yeah.
Right. Fuck.
You just ate a 10-pound special, belly full of crawfish, and now it's in your lap.
But that's the type of guy that went fight at the Alamo, and he was, I think it was only about 100 guys, and they fought to the death against 5,000 Mexican troops.
Didn't give a shit.
Knowing that they were going to die, but knowing that if they held the church, it was a church, the Alamo was a church, knowing if that they held that spot, the rest of the U.S. Army could make it to wherever they were to protect, and that's why we have Texas today, because those 100 guys gave up their lives that day, knowing that they were going to give up their lives, which is, it's hard to think that anybody in our culture today would be that willing to give up their life.
No one, honestly, man, not nearly enough people even understand the gravity of why things are the way they are now.
Right.
And they just take that shit for granted. And I think the worst part about that is the ones that don't even know or think that they do know don't understand that gravity still, and have completely ignorant towards the fact that there was a whole world before you and it doesn't revolve only around you. And that preservation is really where it's at. And I know that, remember, the Alamo is a giant piece of history that a lot of people know, but they don't understand the gravity of why that is the way it is and why we own Texas. You know what I mean? So it's amazing to see this shit.
But nobody also understands just how it all ensues each other, right? Because you can talk about the Civil War times, you can talk about the Alamo, different battles that we've had, even Gettysburg, right? But nobody can really put it into perspective because you weren't there, you didn't live in those times. But it's when you take a piece like this and you grip it, dude, and then you realize it's real. It's not
I wanted
just a story, man.
Pull it out of the case so you can feel it.
Look how old it is, man. It's out of round, you know, because silver is a lot softer metal.
It's pliable,
you know, and so it'll wear. But that's amazing, dude. That's amazing. That's so freaking cool.
So,
go find that on Shelby the fucking shit turtle.
Thank you for listening to the Dank Swamp Rebellion. Tune in Wednesday for part 3 with RattlesnakeDre. Check us out on social media and at dsrtalks.com.